Millionaire saw his maid sleeping on the street. What he did next shocked everyone. For 3 years, she cleaned his mansion every single day. She was always there at 6 in the morning, perfectly dressed, never late, never complaining. He thought he knew her. But when he found her sleeping on the frozen street that night, wrapped in nothing but a thin coat, everything he believed about loyalty, sacrifice, and human dignity was about to be destroyed. This isn't just another story about rich and poor. This is about a discovery so shocking that it will make you look at every person in your life completely differently. Because the truth Maria had been hiding wasn't just about her. It was about all of us. Before we continue, if you are new to this channel, please share your city in the comment section. And remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the story. Now let's continue. Marcus Rivera was a man who had everything figured out. At 42 years old, he owned 3 successful restaurants in downtown Chicago and had just signed a deal to expand his business nationwide. His luxury penthouse apartment was perfectly organized. His schedule ran like clockwork, and his bank account had more zeros than most people could dream of. Every morning at exactly 7 a.m., Marcus would wake up to find his breakfast perfectly prepared and his clothes laid out for the day. The apartment would be spotless, the plants watered, and everything in its proper place. The person responsible for this perfection was Maria Santos, a quiet woman in her 50s who had worked for him for the past 3 years. Maria was the ideal employee. She arrived at 6 in the morning and left at 4 in the afternoon. She never asked for time off, never complained about her tasks, and rarely spoke unless Marcus asked her a direct question. When she did speak, her English carried a soft accent that hinted at her roots in El Salvador. Marcus appreciated Maria's work ethic, but he knew very little about her personal life. She had mentioned having a family when she first started working for him, but she never talked about them. He assumed she lived somewhere in the neighborhood and went home to a comfortable life each evening. To Marcus, Maria was simply part of his routine. She was efficient, reliable, and invisible in the way that busy, successful people prefer their household staff to be. He paid her well, gave her a Christmas bonus each year, and considered himself a good employer. What more could there be to think about? Everything changed on a Tuesday night in December. Marcus had been working late at his newest restaurant, dealing with a kitchen equipment breakdown that had delayed the dinner service. By the time he got home, it was nearly 11 p.m., much later than his usual routine. As his driver pulled up to his building, Marcus noticed something unusual. There was a figure huddled in the doorway of the closed coffee shop across the street. At first, he thought it was just another homeless person seeking shelter from the bitter Chicago wind. The temperature had dropped below freezing, and snow was beginning to fall. But as he got out of his car, something about the figure caught his attention. The person was wrapped in a familiar-looking blue coat. Marcus squinted through the falling snow and felt his heart stop. It was Maria. She was sitting on a piece of cardboard, leaning against the locked door of the coffee shop. A small backpack sat beside her, and she had pulled her knees up to her chest for warmth. Her eyes were closed, but Marcus could see she was shivering. For a moment, Marcus stood frozen on the sidewalk. Questions raced through his mind. Why was Maria sleeping on the street? Where was her family? Where was her home? He crossed the street quickly, his expensive leather shoes slipping slightly on the icy pavement. "Maria!" he called softly, not wanting to startle her. Her eyes opened immediately, and when she saw Marcus, her face filled with shame and fear. She struggled to stand up, smoothing down her coat and trying to gather her dignity. "Mr. Rivera," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I am sorry. I did not think you would see me here." "Maria, what are you doing out here? It's freezing. Why aren't you at home?" Maria looked down at her hands. "This is my home, Mr. Rivera." The words hit Marcus like a punch to the stomach. "What do you mean this is your home?" "I sleep here most nights," Maria said quietly. "Sometimes the shelter has room, but not often. This doorway keeps some of the wind away." Marcus stared at her, trying to process what he was hearing. "Maria, you work for me every day. You're at my apartment every morning at 6. How long have you been sleeping on the street?" "About 8 months," she admitted, still not looking at him directly. 8 months. Marcus's voice rose with disbelief. But why? What happened to your home? Maria was quiet for a long moment, clearly struggling with whether to tell him the truth. Finally, she looked up at him, and Marcus saw tears in her eyes. My grandson Diego, he got sick, she began. Very sick. The doctor said he needed surgery, but we had no insurance. The hospital wanted $20,000 before they would help him. She paused, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. I had some savings, but it was not enough. So I sold everything. My furniture, my car, everything I owned. But it still was not enough. I had to choose between paying rent and paying for Diego's medicine. I chose Diego. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you ask for help? Maria shook her head. You are my boss, not my family. This was my problem to solve. Besides, if I told you I had no home, you might think I was not reliable. You might fire me. I need this job, Mr. Rivera. Diego, he still needs medicine every month. Where do you shower? How do you keep your clothes clean for work? There's a gym 2 blocks from here. I pay $15 a month to use their shower in the early morning. I wash my work clothes in their sink and dry them overnight. I have 3 sets of work clothes that I rotate. Marcus realized that Maria had been maintaining this incredible routine for 8 months. Every morning, she would wake up on the street, clean up at the gym, and arrive at his apartment looking perfectly professional. She had never been late, never looked anything less than put together, never given him any hint of her situation. Where's Diego now? Marcus asked. He is with my daughter in Milwaukee. She took him in after the surgery. He is getting better, but he still needs medicine. I send her most of my paycheck every month. The snow was falling harder now, and Marcus could see that Maria was shaking from the cold. Come on, he said firmly. You're coming upstairs with me. Oh no, Mr. Rivera. I cannot. That would not be appropriate. Maria, it's below freezing out here. I'm not leaving you on the street tonight. Marcus insisted, and finally Maria agreed to come upstairs. Once they were in his warm apartment, he made her hot chocolate and gave her a thick blanket. As she sat on his couch, slowly warming up, Marcus found himself seeing her differently. This woman, who he had barely noticed for 3 years, had been fighting an incredible battle every single day. She had sacrificed her own comfort, her own safety, her own home to save her grandson's life. And she had done it all while maintaining the highest level of professionalism at work. Maria, Marcus said, sitting down across from her, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me. How much money do you still need for Diego's medical expenses? Maria looked uncomfortable. Mr. Rivera, I do not want charity. I am working to solve this problem myself. This isn't charity. This is me trying to understand how I can help someone who has been working in my home for 3 years. Someone I clearly never took the time to really know. How much? After much coaxing, Maria admitted that Diego's ongoing medical costs were about $300 per month, and that she still owed about $8,000 to the hospital. Marcus was quiet for a moment, thinking, $8,000. He had spent more than that on a single dinner with clients last month. $300 a month was less than he spent on coffee. Maria, I want to make you an offer, and I want you to really think about it before you say no. She looked at him nervously. I want to pay off Diego's medical debt completely. All of it. And I want to cover his monthly medicine costs for as long as he needs them. Maria's eyes widened. Mr. Rivera, that is too much. I cannot accept that. Wait, let me finish. In return, I want you to continue working for me. But I want to change our arrangement. I'm going to pay you more, and I'm going to help you find a proper apartment. You can pay me back slowly if that makes you feel better. But Maria, you cannot continue sleeping on the street. Maria started crying then, really crying. Why would you do this for me? She asked through her tears. Marcus thought about her question. Because for 3 years, you have taken perfect care of my home, and I never once thought to make sure someone was taking care of you. because you are one of the most dedicated, hard-working people I have ever met, and because no one should have to choose between having a home and saving their family." The next morning, Marcus called in sick to work for the first time in years. Instead, he spent the day helping Maria. They went to a nearby apartment complex, where Marcus paid the first year's rent in advance for a small but comfortable one-bedroom apartment. They went shopping for basic furniture and household items. Marcus watched as Maria touched everything gently, as if she couldn't believe it was real. When they got to the bedding section, she actually started crying again when she felt how soft the pillows were. "I had forgotten what it felt like to have a real pillow," she admitted. That afternoon, Marcus called the hospital and paid off Diego's entire medical debt. He also set up an account to automatically pay for the boy's monthly medications. But the biggest change was yet to come. Over the next few weeks, Marcus found himself talking to Maria more, really talking to her. He learned that she had been a teacher in El Salvador before coming to America. She spoke 3 languages fluently and had a degree in literature. She had raised 4 children as a single mother and had worked multiple jobs to put them all through school. Maria, it turned out, was not just a housekeeper. She was an intelligent, educated woman who had been forced into survival mode by circumstances beyond her control. Word of what Marcus had done began to spread among his friends and business associates. Some people praised him for his generosity. Others whispered that he was being foolish, that Maria might be taking advantage of him. But Marcus didn't care what people thought. He had discovered something that all his business success had never taught him. He had learned the difference between being wealthy and being rich. Marcus had always been wealthy. He had money, property, investments. But he had never been rich in the things that actually mattered. He had never been rich in human connections, in understanding, in the kind of relationships that feed the soul. 3 months later, Maria asked if she could bring Diego to visit during his school holiday. Marcus agreed immediately. When Diego arrived, Marcus met a bright, polite 12-year-old boy who spoke perfect English and wanted to be a doctor when he grew up. The boy was healthy and happy, with no signs of the illness that had nearly cost his family everything. "Mr. Rivera," Diego said during dinner, "my grandmother told me what you did for us. I want to pay you back someday." Marcus smiled at the boy. "You don't owe me anything, Diego. But if you really want to pay me back, study hard, become that doctor you want to be, and when you meet someone who needs help, remember this moment." 6 months after that cold December night, Marcus's life looked very different. Maria still worked for him, but their relationship had evolved into something much more meaningful. She had become his friend, his advisor, and in many ways, his teacher. Maria helped Marcus see his wealth differently. She encouraged him to visit the shelter where she used to sleep sometimes. She introduced him to other people who were struggling, working multiple jobs, but still unable to afford basic necessities. Marcus began using his resources differently. He started a program to help his restaurant employees with emergency expenses. He partnered with local organizations to provide job training for people experiencing homelessness. But the most important change was in Marcus himself. He had learned to see people, really see them. He had learned that everyone has a story, everyone has struggles, and everyone deserves dignity and respect. Maria taught him that true wealth isn't about what you have. It's about what you give, how you connect with others, and whether you use your blessings to lift up the people around you. 1 year after finding Maria sleeping on the street, Marcus threw a party. It wasn't for a business milestone or a holiday. It was to celebrate Diego's first anniversary of being completely healthy. The party was held in Marcus's penthouse, but the guest list was unlike any gathering he had ever hosted before. There was Maria's entire family, including Diego and his mother, who had traveled from Milwaukee. There were several people from the shelter who had become Maria's friends. There were Marcus's restaurant employees and their families. As Marcus looked around the room, he realized he had never felt happier or more fulfilled. His apartment, which had once been a showpiece of expensive furniture and perfect organization, was now filled with laughter, conversation in multiple languages, children playing, and the kind of warmth that money can't buy. During the party, Diego pulled Marcus aside. "Mr. Rivera, I have something for you," the boy said, handing him a handmade card. Inside the card, in Diego's careful handwriting, were the words, "Thank you for saving my life and teaching me what kindness looks like. I will be a doctor someday, and I will help people just like you helped us." Marcus had to excuse himself to the bathroom to wipe away his tears. Later that night, after all the guests had gone home and Maria had finished cleaning up, she and Marcus sat on his balcony, looking out over the city. "Mr. Rivera," Maria said, "can I ask you something?" "Of course. And Maria, you can call me Marcus. I think we're past the formal titles now." She smiled. "Marcus, do you ever regret that night? Finding me on the street? Your life was simpler before." Marcus thought about her question. His life had been simpler before. He had fewer responsibilities, fewer relationships to maintain, fewer emotional commitments. But he had also been lonelier than he had realized. He had been successful, but not fulfilled. "Maria," he said finally, "that night changed my life in the best possible way. I thought I was helping you, but you ended up helping me more. You taught me what it means to truly live." "How did I do that?" "You showed me that real wealth isn't about what you accumulate for yourself. It's about what you contribute to others. You showed me that every person has value, has a story, has something to offer. And you showed me that the best things in life, the things that actually matter, can't be bought. They have to be earned through love, kindness, and genuine human connection." Maria nodded thoughtfully. "My grandmother used to say that God puts people in our path for reasons we don't always understand right away. Maybe you were meant to find me that night. Maybe we were both meant to learn something." "What do you think we were meant to learn?" "That we are all connected," Maria said. "That your problems are my problems, and my problems are your problems. That when we lift each other up, we all rise together." 2 years have passed since that cold December night, and Marcus Rivera is a different man. He still runs his successful restaurants, but he also runs 3 programs that help working families afford health care, housing, and education. Maria still works for Marcus, but she also teaches English classes at the community center and has started studying to renew her teaching certificate. Diego is thriving in school and volunteers at a local clinic every weekend. Their story spread throughout the community and eventually reached local media. Marcus was featured in several articles about business leaders who are making a difference, but he always insisted that Maria be interviewed alongside him. "She's not just someone I helped," he would tell reporters. "She's someone who changed my entire understanding of what success means." The most amazing part of this story is not just how it changed Marcus and Maria's lives. It's how it rippled outward. Marcus's employees, inspired by his example, started their own informal network to help each other during tough times. Several of his wealthy friends began looking more closely at how they could use their resources to help others. The shelter where Maria used to stay received increased donations and volunteer support. But perhaps the most important impact was on the dozens of people who heard this story and began to see the world differently. They started noticing the people who had been invisible to them before. They started asking themselves what real wealth actually means. This brings me to the question I want you to think about, and I really hope you'll share your thoughts in the comments below. When was the last time you really saw someone who was right in front of you? Someone you interact with regularly, but have never really gotten to know. Maybe it's the person who cleans your office, or the cashier at your local grocery store, or the person who delivers your mail. What if everyone around you has a story as powerful as Maria's? What if the person you barely notice is fighting incredible battles every single day? What if your life could be changed forever by simply taking the time to really see another human being? Here's my challenge for you. This week, have a real conversation with someone you normally just say hello to. Ask them about their life, their dreams, their challenges. You might be amazed by what you discover. And here's the bigger question. If you had the power to change someone's life tomorrow, would you? What's stopping you? Leave a comment and tell me about a time when someone's kindness changed your life, or when you had the chance to help someone and it ended up helping you too. I read every single comment, and these stories inspire me more than you know. If this story touched your heart and made you think differently about wealth, success, and human connection, please subscribe to Beyond Yesterday for more stories that will change how you see the world. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that could transform your perspective. Remember, we all have the power to be the Marcus in someone else's story. We all have the opportunity to see people who feel invisible and remind them that they matter. Real wealth isn't about what we keep for ourselves. It's about what we give to others and how we use our blessings to create more blessings in the world. Thank you for being part of a community that believes in the power of human kindness. And thank you for being someone who wants to see beyond yesterday to create a better tomorrow.